I said that we need to explain what happened. How did we get started when we were in the crib when we saw ETs? But what I really want to focus on, because this is what's hot in the news right now. This is June 5th of 2020, and right now, the conversation is about racism and what it doesn't mean we're racist. And people are saying, well, we're all racist in some way. And how can you tell if you're racist? And what's the difference between racism and tribalism? And how can we stop radical violence in America? And, how many Americans are killed by cops every year? And how many that are killed are people of color? And how many women and mentally ill and homeless and poor? And then there's a comparison between the 68 protests following the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King with the protests of today. And on and on, we've got 33 topics on aquariumradio.com on this. But what happened, I'll start, and I'll put my timer on, 5 minutes. Let me put my timer on 1 second.
All right, I'm on mute. Now we're going to get serious. I'm on mute.
Okay.
Just tell me when I got to come on.
We're going to get serious, so I'm going to go 5 minutes. I will. Okay, here we go. 5 minutes. Oh, come on. I got to get this set up. Oh, hold 1 second. Here we go. 5 minutes. Start. Okay, so yesterday I was watching Don Lemon and which one was it? One of the talk show hosts. I can see his picture in my mind, but I get confused on which one it was. And they were talking about systemic racism. And they were talking about the violence. And, of course, we had George Floyd killed, and yesterday was his funeral. We've had a week of racism, and the world has been on fire. But I started, and this was very a nasty thing right before I went to bed, but I was so curious after watching this commentary with the two of them, and I started to Google police violence, and I was actually very shocked, and I only made it through about 5 or 6 videos where they seem to, it just goes across the board, actually. I mean, they're doing a lot of people of color, but the violence is just extreme. So I saw one video where there was a poor man, and, it doesn't really matter his color, but he happened to be white, and I didn't even pay attention to the color of the cops. Everybody's kind of mixed right now, but there were some cops, and they cornered this poor man who was obviously mentally slow, very slow mentally. I don't want to use a politically inappropriate term, but he was slow. And they basically ripped him out of his car, threw him on the ground, and they kept tasering him until he was just bleeding. And then there was another woman that was obviously mentally incapacitated. She was somehow in a motel, was one of your days in or something, and she was running around with scissors, and the cop wanted her to stop holding these scissors, and she was on the phone, panic talking to a friend or something, and she wasn't going to set those down, and then so she got shot, and he killed her. And then there was another one where these people were having a domestic fight, husband and wife, and there's 3 kids, and they were outside, and I guess the neighbors called the cops, and they came up to the woman, and the dog, which was their family dog, started to defend its family. And so the cop said, lady, control your dog. And she was obeying the cop, and he went to shoot her, or I guess, so the story was. And she shot the dog, and he shot her, and that leaving these children with no mother. And it went on and on and on and on and on. And I think, and I'll put this up, I'll pass the talking stick. I think the problem is the training of the cops, because I've seen, many episodes in my life. I came from a relatively poor neighborhood, and the cops would talk down. In my neighborhood where I grew up, there was a husband and wife. They had one son, and they would take turns. They would take the mother away one time and put her in a cool down overnight, and it was kind of like Mayberry, right? Here's the cell, go cool down. And so it seemed like the cops in my childhood, which is in the 50s and 60s, had some training in how to talk people down. But now with the tasers, and my husband came home one day from Borders. He said, there was some poor guy coming out of Borders, and he said, I came up, and they were just tasering him over and over and over, and that's known to give people heart attacks. And then Sash said something else, stop hurting that man. And then the cops started coming after him, and then the cop said, I'm going to remember you. And I went, what the hell's going on here? And then another time, I had a store in town, and the person that was managing my store wouldn't let my other coworker in, so she called, said, she won't let me in to come to work. So I went down there, and I came over, and I was talking to the cop, and next thing I know, he said, lady, if you don't stop talking right now, I'm going to arrest you. And I went, whoa. And I'm thinking, what did I say? I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to get tasered. So I walked away because it was like all I could do because I didn't want to say one more word. So anyway, I think the problem is the cops and their trading. So I'm gonna stop and pass the stick. Karen, would you like to take the stick? And you can either respond to that or pick another subject. Okay, I'm going to stop that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm going to respond to it because I think it's terrible about the racism, and I think that my Robert, my galactic forever partner, he would always say, that there are parts of the South that never recovered from the Civil War. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Texas kind of borderlines on the South and the Southwest, but and it's not any certain part of the United States. So I'm not talking about that because I'm not prejudiced with any part of the United States. But I do think it's terrible. And but there's another thing. What are they going to do when the blue people come in and some of our friends that are different colors? There's not only brown, black, or white. There are other colors. And if we can't deal with these, it really shows how far behind we are. And so it's my belief that if we awaken and let those energies and frequencies elevate through the higher consciousness, through meditation, and I'm going to talk later about what higher consciousness is, or maybe I should do it now. But the word consciousness means you're conscious about what you see that's around you and where you are. That's your conscious, like you're looking wherever you are inside on the earth plane, the television, the lights, the outside. That's the 3D conscious. And the systems aren't working here. It's not going to happen here. What the person wants to obtain in the elevation of higher consciousness and understanding through those magical doors are not going to take place on the earth plane. This is where we've come in to do our lessons that we picked before we ever came into a human form. And by people desiring to seek and asking questions, okay, what happens after this? Where do we go? What do we do? Well, they say heaven. Well, what is heaven? What does this mean? But nobody of the masses really want to seek and ask questions about this. We're still in a minority, all of us who are in this field and the cosmic consciousness field. And we've come here to, now's the time, now's really the thick of it, to help people understand what consciousness is and how they can learn to get there, because everybody can do it. I mean, that's what Jesus said when he came in here, is that he could do it and others could do it better. I mean, nobody's any better than anybody else. It's just we all have to get to a place where we realize that the 3D is not going to be what makes it happen. It's important. We love it. We have a lot of good things to obtain and to give on this level of consciousness, but it's not going to happen here. And that's why I think a lot of these issues are happening, and it's going to get stronger unless we can go in and lift and awaken and help the people who really don't understand what a lot of this means. So that's my talk on it. And I totally agree with you. I think a lot of the police officers, I think they're great, but I also think they have a lot of anger, and whatever they didn't work out in their lessons or their origin or whatever before they came into this plane, it's triggering something in them, and they're transitioning or they're projecting on the victim. So that's my belief, Janet. I can say more.
Oh, okay. So are you yielding the rest of your time, or are you do you have another minute? Do you want to complete, or do you
No,
want
I
to yield your time?
To say that I think that people like you and TJ, me, and many others, there's still a lot of us, are here to teach people who are interested in how to wake that part up inside them about the questions from the invisible world. Let's call it the invisible places we can't see. And I'm really on fire with that today. So I think that we can stop this. I don't think that it has to be this way. We don't have to let this racism, this cruelty, this criminalism, this abuse. It's the ultimate of bullying, whether it's individualized or group or whatever. We are in a bullied society, and it's got to stop. That's all I have to say,
okay.
Janet.
Well, thank you. That was perfect. You're out of
I'll
time.
get off my soapbox.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to pass it to TJ, the talking stick. So, TJ, it's your turn for the next 5 minutes. If you're complete at any point, you can say, I yield the rest of my time, but go ahead and start right now. You can finish this topic or use a different one. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is Theresa J Morris, and I'm running for that's not it. Okay. Let's see. Regarding, this is Janet Kira Lessin of Hawaii that you just heard speaking, folks, on my channel. And we've invited Karen Gresham Nickell, and I did not do a proper beginning on my show, so I want to apologize for the last few minutes. Not for Janet or Karen, or the 5 minutes that I've been given, but just so I had problem. Yeah, I apologize to my ladies. And we are trying to do something wonderful here. And right now, Janet is going to do her best to get us organized because that's what she is. She is my ACO event manager in my mind, and she does a really good job of it, especially with 8 years of putting up with me. But I'd like to talk about our human security because I have worn a uniform. I've been law enforcement, criminal justice. I've been trained in arson, fraud, subrogation, and I have been trained by the United States of America. And I was fortunate enough to wear Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, and a few Black Ops, and as even a civilian in GS status. So I understand the significance of having definitions of international security and human security, and it's very much a way of life for me because I believe in what America stands for. I grew up saying I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Now, I made one mistake, and justice for all, because I don't say it anymore, but I used to say that every day when I went to school. And I wish we had that back in America, pledged to the flag, because so many people don't understand the colors and what it means or why we are loyal to a country or what it means to be American or to have pride in our government in our United States of America and to our history. But human security is an emerging paradigm for understanding global vulnerabilities because we have grown into a country that is part of a global existence. So human security, human sovereignty, human freedom. Janet, I don't know if it's me or you, but I don't know. I just think we're all working together, and Karen too. And I may not say it as eloquently as these ladies, but I've always had I'm the oldest of 7 kids, born in Monroe, Louisiana, raised in Houston, Texas. And after I spent about 20 years being married and having kids, I went back into the government and got to travel the world. And I went to Portugal and Spain. I didn't get to go to Brazil, but I went to Japan and UK. I've been all over the world, and I enjoyed doing what I did. But regarding humans and humanity and dignity, I was treated very well in all countries, especially in Japan. But, you know, the way that we conduct ourselves has a lot to do with it. And I was listening to the George Floyd funeral on TV, CNN,